Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion show, and today I am here with Frankie Palmeri. He is the singer for the band Emmure. How are you doing today?
Today's another day in paradise, my friend. I have a roof over my head. I have food in the fridge, and that's as good as it gets for me.
That's good.
hmm
You holding up during quarantine and social distancing and whatnot?
I mean, yeah, I mean, my life hasn't changed too much other than the fact that I'm not on the road performing live. If I
Yeah.
was just home as it is right now, it'd be pretty similar. I don't really do shit anyway, so I've adapted pretty well. I mean, it kind of sucks. I can't really go anywhere, but other than that, just kind of like days go by. I don't really, get too upset about it. Like I count my blessings every day. I'm healthy. My family's still healthy. So, what I can't really complain about shit.
Yeah, that's good. So first question I have here is where are you from and where'd you grow up at?
Uh, I was born and raised in Queens, New York. That's where I was, spent all my formative years. And yeah, I don't know if there's some kind of misinformation out there, but I think it's pretty public. It's public domain. That's where I'm from.
All right.
Yeah.
So, were you ever into Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon as a kid?
Yeah, I fuck with Pokemon for sure. Actually, uh, like when the cards came out, like first the cartoon came out, and I must have been in like sixth or seventh grade, and I was like, "Yo, this is fucking fire!" Like whatever this is so sick. And then shortly after that, once it caught on in here in the West, the card game came out, and I was buying the cards, and I was the only like nerdy friend, like out of like my whole like clique of people I knew, the only one that like even wanted to play Pokemon or like that. And then the video game came out, and we all played the game. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I have a Pokemon tattoo actually. I have a coughing tattoo on my arm, a little one. So I'm definitely a fan. Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't have much of a history with Yu-Gi-Oh, but I did play the Yu-Gi-Oh video game on Game Boy Advance. I think it was called like Battle of the Duelists or some shit like that, and I thought that shit was fire too. So I like the trading card games. I like Pokemon. The last thing that was Pokemon that I got into was the digital trading card game, and I was playing that up until basically my tablet stopped working, so I haven't played since. So I'm sure I missed out on all the new decks that came out and stuff, but it's fun. I like anything like that. Anything that's got like some kind of addictive like feeling to it that's cute and gives me like some kind of like dopamine shot to my brain. I'm all about that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was more into the show Pokemon. I played the Yu-Gi-Oh card game though when I was growing
Yeah.
up.
hmm
And I watched the show. But yeah.
Yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh show doesn't interest me at all. There's something about the characters and the
hmm
whole vibe of that just not click with me. But I did like the video game I played. That was really dope. So I mean, I like trading card games in general. It's not something I really do now. It's not like it's a for me to buy like playing cards at the stage of my life is a poor investment. So I'm off that. But yeah, I do like that stuff though. It's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite TV shows, either from your
Uh,
childhood or currently?
for my childhood, I guess if we're gonna talk that stuff, I was big into the Gargoyles cartoon,
Oh yeah.
Batman from the '90s Batman cartoon from Fox, Animaniacs. Um, there was a really funny cartoon that was by the WB called Hysteria, which was basically a cartoon, excuse me, that would teach you a history lesson, but in the form of like a funny cartoon. I think people forgot about that, but Hysteria was really funny. And as far as like shows I watch now, I'm still watching The Simpsons. I've been watching The Simpsons my entire life. It's like a staple for me. I can't not watch The Simpsons. Reno 911. I mean, there's tons of anime I could plug. I mean, I just recently got into High Score Girl. I think High Score Girl is like the best new anime out right now. I checked out Beastars recently. I mean, there's so much like content now. Like in this day and age, it's hard for me to like just even really like tell you like this is the best right now or like this is the best thing I'm doing. But for me, High Score Girl for sure is stand out.
Were you
Yeah.
ever into Inuyasha, the anime?
No, there's something about the art style of Inuyasha that turns me off. It just seems kind of like too still. I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't resonate with me. I also don't think I don't think I ever gave it a fair shot, honestly. But I know that the things I saw, I just thought it kind of looked kind of bland, and the whole like swords and like the whole like love triangle sword fight thing. I don't think it ever really got my attention too much either. But I know that there's a big fandom for it, so it must be good. I never say anything's bad just because I don't watch it. It just means I never caught on.
Yeah, yeah. That was outside of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. That was the only other anime I ever got into as a kid.
Damn, really?
Yeah,
You're missing out, man. At least check out Death Note.
I've heard good things about Death Note and what else? Bleach, and I had friends in high school that were really into anime, but they could never get me into it for
Dude,
some reason.
watch. I tell people who don't. Well, you obviously have some kind of like introduction to anime, but if you like anime even a little bit, you should seriously watch Death Note. At least the first episode, just to be like, wow, what a concept, because it's so fucking sick. But I'll leave you alone on it. But definitely, hard recommendation.
All right. Have you seen Tiger King?
Yeah, I watched all that shit. I didn't watch the new thing that came out, like the whole like everyone being interviewed post show, because I don't know. There's something about that makes me not care about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was more interested in the drama. I don't really care about what people say about it now, but yeah, I loved it. I thought it was fucking interesting as hell. I mean, I never heard about the guy up until the show came out, but supposedly people have been paying attention to him for a while. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the whole thing's crazy. Carol Baskin, that dude just being like out of his fucking gourd, all of it's fascinating.
Yeah, I actually met Joe Exotic a couple of years ago when he ran for governor, because he ran for governor in my state.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and he came to my school for a debate with some of the other candidates who were running, and I got to take a picture with them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got to take a picture with him, and I got a free T-shirt with his face on it.
Do you still have it?
I do.
That's fucking badass.
And he also followed me on Twitter, so his account, it's inactive right now, but it still follows me on Twitter, so it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so what made you want to start a band?
Well, I fell in love with music really young. I grew up in a house with music. My parents were into like country and like old like singer-songwriters from the 60s and 70s and stuff. And my sister was a fan of like Paula Abdul and like Snow and like all these like, 90s rap or pop artists. And my brother, who was the oldest of all the siblings, he was into like Faith More, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. And so I had all these different sounds constantly in the house, and I attached myself to I thought all of it was good, I was a sponge, so I loved music. And then I discovered like the underground music scene when I was really young, between the ages of like 12 or 13. And I went to my first show. It was One King Down, Cypher, Sky Came Falling, and I'm forgetting something else. But anyway, so that was the first time I went to an event like that. And I remember leaving that place being like, I got to get back to that vibe. Like, I don't know like what I'm going to do to get back to that place, but I'm going to try it. And my older brother played bass guitar, so I figured that's what I'll do. I'll be able to like one day do that again. But I immediately disliked it. I didn't have like the discipline to like care to learn bass guitar or whatever. But it would be that same summer that I discovered Limp Bizkit when they played MTV Beach House '98, and I was just it blew my mind apart. Lightning struck my brain, like everything, every kind of metaphor you could think of. I was just like, okay, that's the answer. Like, I could do that. I immediately knew right then and there, like I could 100%, 10% do what I'm seeing on TV. Like that created the vision for me completely. And I just never had another idea since, pretty much. I just became one of those plan A people. So, I mean, it just came from a personal love for it. And then just discovering that side of it that I felt I could do well. And then obviously it evolved into other bands I started listening to. My taste got even heavier, and I was listening to like Candiria and Hatebreed and Neck, and I mean I was already listening to bands like One King Down and Cypher and stuff like that, but you know, it just kept snowballing, and then I got into death metal and whatever. I mean, I've literally been trying to be in a band since I was like 13 years old, pretty much. And then it wouldn't be until I was 16, after a lot of trial and error, and you know, meeting people who didn't take it as serious as me and stuff like that. Until eventually I hooked up with the Lionetti brothers, who I met via like a message board on. I don't even remember this. Can't tell you what the site was anymore. It was like just some ancient site where you would share like posts and people would trade emails and shit. But anyway, I know I went really far on your question, but yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
No, I like that answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, you claim that two of your biggest influences are Korn and Limp Bizkit.
Absolutely.
And you kind of answered this a little bit, and this might sound like a weird question because it's kind of obvious because you were like a teenager whenever the new metal was super popular. But how did you get into Korn, Bizkit, and what drew you to their sound and made you want to listen to them?
Well, true story about Limp Bizkit was that the first time I heard Limp Bizkit wasn't even MTV Beach House 98. I was one of those kids that would like stay up till like 3-4 in the morning, like watching MTV, because I knew that was the only time to like see like actual good shit, like stuff they will not play during the day. So Limp Bizkit has a version of Counterfeit called the Lethal Remix version. And that was the first time I heard that band. But I did not write down the name or anything, but the song stuck in my brain permanently. It like, I would not stop thinking about it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that was the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. And then it would be like months later that same year or whatever, really, when they played again on TV, and I was like, holy shit, like that's that band. That's that song I've been looking for this whole time. So it's like, in a weird way, it's like serendipitous how I kind of discovered them or heard of them or whatever. But Korn was like, I didn't know Korn existed until they had caught the wave of their third album when Follow the Leader had come out. Either me or someone in my family, it might have been like my sister or my brother, because they were Korn fans at one point too. When I was too young to really like have like a scope for music, you know, they were into stuff like that. And a Follow the Leader sampler came in the mail. I was like, what the fuck is this? The artwork was super cool. It had like the Todd McFarlane artwork. I'm like, yo, this is badass. I don't know what this is, but I gotta listen to it. And I think it was Freak on a Leash and Got the Life on the sample CD. And I remember calling like my childhood friend Chuck and being like, dude, have you heard this band Korn? Like, this is so sick. And he's like, oh my god, yeah, I just heard of them too, yada yada. And so I was part of that wave of Korn. Like, Life is Peachy and Self-Titled had already happened, and I had just reached that age where like music was like, you know, just starting to really be injected into my life. So, you know, you take that time frame was like pretty much $3 Bill Y'all and Life is Peachy. I mean, and Follow the Leader coming out, and me just being like super fan, being like, this is the best shit ever. And obviously, Family Values happened that same year, and like all that stuff. So it was just, I was at the right place, right time to like totally envelop myself in that sound. And I mean, yeah, I still think that's some of like the most interesting, most fun heavy music that has ever existed. I mean, I know there's like a lot of bands only recently that kind of tip their hat to that era. But for me, it's always been the coolest shit. You know, I've always thought that those bands were some of the most interesting, tenacious, fun bands around, you know. So I mean, it's cool, you know, that I'm happy about my time and place in the universe. Pretty much what I'm saying.
Yeah, I usually tell people around your age that they're one of the lucky ones. They got to see MTV when it was at its height, and new metal whenever it was popular, and then whenever I was a teenager, I didn't get to see any of that. But
yeah. I think the internet age is what you know, the next generation after me really got the chance to like blossom with, or like kind of figure out first, you know, like you know, because once new metal kind of like faded out, the next thing that was cool was like being like a legit metal band, like Killswitch Engage, As It Lay Dying, Lamb of God, like that became the next thing, and then that kind of transformed into like screamo being the thing with like Sonny from what the fuck's his old band, the Skrillex Kid. What was his old band? I can't recall. But anyway, like that whole sound.
But I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I've got to see it all kind of happen in front of me. But yeah, I feel really grateful that, you know, that time and place I could like watch Korn be number one on MTV, TRL shit. So it was a fun time, man.
Yeah. So what was your inspiration for adding more rapping to Emmure songs?
I don't know. I think it just kind of became a natural progression. I just wanted to do more things with my voice. It was not premeditated. We're like, oh, I'm going to start doing this now. Nothing with Emmure is ever premeditated like that. I just go with a feeling. If I think that something, a part in a song calls for it, something, that's what I do. Whether it be a scream, a rap. Seldom times I actually would sing on a song. Yeah, it all just comes from being like, okay, this feels right for this moment, and that's really it. You know, it's not like I decided like I'm fucking rapping now. Just to say, I mean, obviously bands like Limp Bizkit, I mean, 40 Below Summer, El Nino, Chimera, like those are like big influence for me vocally and stuff like that. So like, you know, not that I don't want to say I'm emulating them to a T, but they kind of they're the ones that opened the doors for me to do what I do now. You know, like that's really what it is. You know, if those bands hadn't existed, how would I've ever known that like that shit was even somewhat kind of cool? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that really sums up your question or anything, but you know, yeah.
No, that makes sense. Because whenever I hear you scream, it reminds me of Jonathan Davis.
Cool.
So whenever you said Chimera and 40 Below Summer, now I'm having to rethink.
I mean, yeah, obviously Korn's obviously a huge influence. I mean, you know, Jonathan Davis to me is like one of the greatest to ever like get on a mic and put his heart out there. You know, I think he's like an icon for, you know, everything he's ever done with Korn. But there's so many other bands that are, you know, part of the zeitgeist of what I became as far as a performer and stuff like that. You know, there's been so many people that have been an influence. I mean, Seth Putnam, the band Neck. I mean, you know, Jamie Josta. I mean, it just goes on and on. You know, I feel like I've been a student of all these people. You know, and so now I'm just, you know, just one of those dudes, whatever.
So here's one of the questions I have about songs. So the intro track to Eternal Enemies, Bring a Gun to School.
Yeah.
Why did you call it that? And could you talk about the controversy behind that at the time?
I called it that because I wanted the song to have just as much of an impactful name as the song itself. I also, and I've explained this before, I think I had a issue with a lack of creativity at the time. I thought that would be the best idea, which really it's not. There was a million other options I could have done, but that was the one to me that was like, this is going to strike the hardest. This is going to make people like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, you know, because in my school of thought, pushing the envelope is what heavy music is supposed to do. You know, so I thought, why not? If the song is pushing the envelope, so should the name. And obviously there was a huge backlash from not only the public domain, but like, you know, the label was like, look, like we're getting a lot of slack from the you know, our publishing people and stuff like that. Like no one wanted to touch it. So like, you know, what do you want to do? So I was just like, all right, just call it Untitled then, because the name already got out there. People already took it and already chewed it up and felt however they felt about it. So I didn't want to like give it a different name. I just was like, we'll just take the name out completely. But the message of the song is, although it seems super dark and just like as if the point of it is to like offend people or whatever, that's not the point of it at all. The point of it was to give you the perspective of a person that has these negative feelings, that has these dark thoughts, and what pretty much the symptom of dealing with kind of like abuse is, you know. And that was the mindset I was explaining. I was explaining the mindset of a person, like I said, who's just been pushed to that limit. Obviously, like I think it was definitely my bad decision making that led to people just thinking that I'm just advocating that kind of behavior, which is not. I just thought that that was the most appropriate title for the song in itself. But you know, I mean, look, we played that song in plenty of clubs and people freaked out and sang the words, so it's like the song got out there and it did its thing. And you know, people still talk about it today. Obviously, we're talking about it now, but I just consider that a small sliver of the picture. You know, it's not like everything that Emmure has ever done in terms of our identity or whatever. You know, so.
Yeah, because I remember Eternal Enemies was the first Emmure CD I bought in real time. Like I think I bought it like either a week or a couple weeks after it first came out. And I remember you talking about that, and I remember that being a thing. And I bought the CD and I uploaded it to iTunes so I could put it on my computer. And I was like, okay, it says Untitled. I'm gonna put what it really should be in there. So ever since then, I've always remembered that.
Yeah, I mean, not to go too far on anymore with it, but I remember people have asked me about this besides you, and they said that they actually think that it becoming Untitled added a level of mystique to it that kind of even shined it even harder. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Another question about a song, News in Arizona. What is that one about?
See, now you're asking me shit that I'm going to talk about in the book. I'm saving this stuff for the real juicy bits, but
Okay, you don't have to talk about it if you don't.
Yeah, it's not that I don't want to leave you hanging on that stuff, but yeah, there's certain stuff that's super deep that doing it just on a formal interview is not going to do it justice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another one I have a question about is Dogs Get Put Down. What is that one about?
Well, Dogs Get Put Down, the title Dogs Get Put Down is based off of a quote from the movie The Watchmen, when Rorschach is talking about killing this guy or whatever because he thinks he's a bad guy or whatever. So in the song, I am the antagonist character, and I'm basically giving the fuck you to people. Because, I mean, during that time in Emmure's career, like between like 2009 and like 2011, people were like sending me death threats, like saying like fuck, we're gonna beat the shit out of this fucking guy when we see him, like all this just negative shit. So Dogs Get Put Down is pretty much like, if you read the lyric, I heard you wanted to kill me, so why am I still alive? Like, you know, it's kind of taunting all of my naysayers or haters or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely more of a surface song, very easy for people to hear it and kind of understand the message of it. But I think I'm not sure if you're asking me because I'm validating what you thought of it, or if maybe I'm telling you, or maybe you're just discovering this for the first time. But I think that song is very self-explanatory.
All right, cool. Let's see. Who would you like to collaborate with in the future, whether that be musically or in other avenues?
Well, the only artist that I have on my hit list that I would love to do an album with would be Aphex Twin. I think a Aphex Twin infused Emmure album would be one of the craziest fucking things anyone's ever heard. I know that guy's sitting on sounds that would just be more raw and pissed off than like any instrument you could ever conjure up. So I would love to one day work with him somehow. I know it would be fucking mind blowing. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I mean, I'm keeping it on my hit list for sure. That's something I want to do before I tap out in life. So if I can get an Aphex Twin album going, Emmure or not, whatever, I just know that it would be fucking raw as fuck. That guy's capable of making some dark fucking music. It's just I don't think he's ever worked with an artist who's going for just that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you be down for doing a tour with Falling in Reverse and Attila? Because I see you guys as being like the holy trinity of nu metal influenced bands and vocalists from the late 2000s and early to mid 2010s. Because y'all like were kind of the bands who were doing a nu metal-ish sound before, like in between the original nu metal bands and then now the explosion of nu metal bands that we have now. you know,
Sure.
with the Hyperveil and stuff like that. I mean, Falling in Reverse wasn't really new metal, but like, you know,
I mean, I don't think
they had,
Falling in Reverse is new metal. I
but they
don't
had a
think.
lot of rapping in their songs and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I don't see. I don't even think rapping is what technically makes you new metal. I think
yeah,
new metal really at the heart of it, if we're gonna talk about it, is just it just takes the metal like kind of foundation of the guitars, the bass, the drums, and it just funks it up. It just makes it like not like just guys shredding or like trying to play the fastest. It's just like, no, we're gonna take our instrument and just make the shit funky and weird. And that's what I consider new metal, is kind of taking the mold of heavy music and kind of just fucking it up a little bit. That's why it hence new metal, because it's not just
yeah.
metal, it's just this new breed of it. And I don't. I mean, I like Falling in Reverse. I actually love the new material I heard from them. I think that Ronnie Radke's like a phenomenal talent.
Mm-hmm.
There's Attila material that I don't know if I consider that new metal either. Maybe like an attitude or like aesthetic in some way. I mean, I don't really pay attention that much, but you know, I mean, either way, to answer your question, yeah, I would totally do a tour with those bands. I mean, I'll tour with anybody. I don't really care. I mean, as long as the package is cool and like people are excited about it, that's all I care about. I'm not picky or like, and I'm not an elitist in any way or think that like we shouldn't tour with these kind of bands or anything. You know, I'm open to all of it. So I've been doing this thing for a long time. It's like, you know, there's no such thing as a bad meetup of artists as long as people are stoked to see it. You know, that's all that matters to me.
All right, that's good to hear. So what can you tell me about the new album Hindsight? When's it gonna come out? Or
Uh,
go ahead.
no, go ahead, finish your question.
Oh, okay. And what are some of the topics that you're going to discuss on this album? Are there going to be any references to Comedy Central shows?
No, I don't think there's any Comedy Central references, at least not to my memory. I mean, as far as a release date, I mean, look, this whole coronavirus shit that happened completely put like a wrench in the gears of everything that makes an album cycle complete. I mean, as we're speaking right now, I should be like on the last couple days of a European tour, like promoting this new album that's coming out. Obviously, I'm not doing that, but you know, because that's not happening, I think the label and us are also just kind of like trying to scratch. We're kind of scratching our heads, like, all right, like, what's the best time to launch this thing? It will be soon. It will most likely be a digital only release because there's also no factories printing physical CDs right now. So yeah, that answers that part of it, I guess. As far as topics, I don't really like to say too much beforehand. I like to just have people get the album in their hands and make up their minds on their own. I mean, there's going to be there's going to be things that are obvious that people are going to go, oh, I understand what this song is saying. And then other songs are going to go, like, what does he mean by that? Or like, what does this represent? So I like to create things inside the music that allow the listener and user or whatever to kind of like dive into it themselves and make the experience unique for them. If I sit around and just explain to you what everything is or tell you what this is what the topics are, it's just like, then why even listen to it? You know, discover it for yourself. You know, so I think that the songs that are out right now paint a pretty decent picture of what people can expect overall. But you know, there's a lot of interesting feelings, a lot of dark. This is probably some of the darkest lyrics I've written in a long time. I would say that, so people can look forward to that if that's their thing.
All right. And last question I have here is, what
Sure.
bands have you been listening to recently, or what music artists have you been listening to recently?
I'm stuck in a hole of all the things I've always loved my whole life. I mean, I have a record collection that I spin a lot. So just today I was listening to, if I can fit it on camera, this album, Disco Volante, Mr. Bungle. That was on
Oh,
repeat
nice.
today. Aphex Twin, I listen to him a lot. I also listened to Frederick Thornton, all Special Defects album today. And I mean, you know, so whatever is in my record collection, that's what I spend every once in a while. I pay for YouTube Premium, so like I listen to a lot of music on there too. So like if I'm in the mood for something, I just go there. But it all depends, man. I mean, there's not like anyone specifically I could be like, yeah, this is my band right now. This is the thing my number one thing I'm spinning right now. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff that I like. I mean, I think bands that are really good, people should check out that I will plug, are Loser, Higher Power, Darknet is really good. I don't know. I'll stick with those three because I mean, really, it can go on and on. But those are bands I think that are really, really top notch. People should check it out if they haven't already. That I think maybe are not completely above and beyond the radar yet. You know?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can we find you on social media and wherever else?
Don't worry about that. If they're listening to this and they already know what's up, don't worry about the plugs.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
Of course, man. Be well. All right. Take care of yourself. Wash your hands.
You too.